I'll put a link, I'll email out a link to you all, and you can access the recording. So if you want to do it again, you can. Because it is easy to forget, isn't it? Even if you've done it before. I can't remember what Pauline did. Pauline, did you do the robin with me, or did you do something else? Oh, has she gone? No, she's muted. Okay. Oh, Pauline, did you do the robin with me before? Or I can't remember.
Sorry, I was just getting a glass of water. I did the robin.
You did the robin. Okay.
So I did.
All right.
Yeah, I'm actually going to do it again because I like the one on black, and I've got a little because I do Zentangle, and I've got little black tiles.
Oh,
So I'm
okay.
going to actually try um on the little sort of black square and see how that turns out.
Okay. Yeah. And then you can put it
So
onto a
yeah, and
um
then I can put it onto a card. Yeah, that's a really nice idea.
right. So I'm not actually, I did say at the show to dampen the sponge, but I found it came out a bit sort of bubbly. The paint sort of came out bubbly when I used it before. So I'm going to try it without today. So I'm loading the sponge with brown, and I'm kind of going all the way around, eventually all the way around the flat part of the sponge. I've got a bit of a hole in the middle of this sponge. It doesn't matter. So I've got brown all over it. It's much nicer showing people how to do things on Zoom than it is at a show where it's noisy and I haven't got everything to hand that I might want. Right, so I've put a little bit of brown on one side, but I haven't overmixed that, the dark brown, and I've got the other brown all over. Can you see that okay? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to now touch it down. This is like a lollipop, this one. I'm going to touch it down. I'm not going to go dead in the center. I'm going to go over to one side. So touch down, press slightly or do it firmly, and then twist a little bit, but without trying to smear it or make it any bigger. And it still came out a bit bubbly for some reason. I don't know whether it's this card. It's a metallic card, so I don't know whether that makes a difference or what. Card makers might know. But you don't just have one bite of the cherry. You can have another go if you want to, and two are happy. But I'm not going to worry too much about the middle bit because that's going to have the red on it. Right, so I'll try this quickly and get a smaller sponge when I get up. I've got these little finger sponges actually, and they're really cheap. You can get them at shows and things like that, um, very cheaply. So I'm just going to try that. I think you get about 10 in a packet or something. You can do all sorts of clever things with these little robins. I think you got great mileage out of them, Claire, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. We
What?
dressed them all up, handbags and hats, all sorts of stuff.
There you are. Yeah, they're quite good fun to do. Right, so that's more or less dry. It doesn't look beautifully mixed. I'm not worried about that at all. So are you ready to move on to the next bit, or do you need a bit more time? Kim, are you putting thumbs up for a bit more time? Heidi needs a bit more time, do you?
No, no, sorry, you can carry on.
Oh, okay.
I thought you meant thumbs up if we were ready. I'm being a bit
Oh,
thick.
okay. All right, we'll make it thumbs up if you're ready then, and then we know where we are. Okay, so I'm touching some water down onto my bit of tissue. Oh, my internet connection's not stable for some reason. Don't know why that is. Um, right, I seem to be back. Okay, doesn't normally happen that. Anyway, I've got some dark brown here, and I'm taking some water, making an inky puddle. I've just gone to the edge of my brown with water, and I'm working it into the bristles, and then I'm turning the bristles through the paint, through that inky puddle. So it's inky consistency, quite fluid, so that the paint can flow from the brush. So I'm going to touch the paint, the tip of the paintbrush down onto the damp tissue, and that just takes a little bit of paint off the tip and gives you a kind of finer bit. So you've still got plenty of paint along the rest of the bristle, because you've put paint right up near the ferrule. The ferrule is that part of the brush. So you've got paint almost up to the top. And then I'm doing some little, starting on the body, doing some little wings. So starting at the roots of the hairs, feathers, whatever they are, and ending on the tips. Reloading the brush, sharpening my point. It's almost like sharpening a pencil. Same sort of principle. And you can do these little wings from whichever direction you feel you'd like to. So if you want to turn it round like that, so you're coming towards yourself, you might find that a little bit easier. And I haven't done a very narrow bit there, because I don't want it to look like a bunch of flowers. I want it to look as though it's got some wings. Okay, and I like a little bit of feathers at the top as well. Right, so there we are. Just going to zoom in a bit so you can see a bit better. I'll just give you a moment to get to that. I'm putting my sponge in to wash it, because if acrylic paint dries on in brushes or on sponges or things like that, if it dries rock hard, it's not impossible to remove, but it is hard. So, you know, if you don't like hard work like me, then you know, get into the habit of always washing your brush as soon as you put it down. Don't wash it and then put it down. Because you can pay quite a fair bit for brushes, and it's nice to keep them going for as long. I mean, they don't last forever, but it's nice to keep them going for as long as you can, rather than keep paying out for them. Okay. How's everybody doing? Have we all got a body and some wings and a bit of hair? Yeah, Pauline's nodding.
Yes.
Right, okay, so make sure I'm still recording. Good, okay. I just wanted to double check. So you can come back and add more feathers to these wings if you want to later. You know, you can always add more. But now I'm going to go on to doing the branch underneath the body. So I'm taking a tiny speck of black. Normally I would say go to your colour and then add a tiny speck of black to the colour. So I've just darkened my brown a little bit with a tiny speck of black. And this time I want a hefty amount of paint on my brush to do the branch. And this is going to be kind of wibbly wobbly. Brush a little bit on the fine side for this, so I need plenty of paint on it. And this time I'm not actually sharpening up the point, because I don't want a point. I want it to be quite a blunt tip of my brush. So I'm going to touch down heavy with the bristles, putting pressure on and sort of wobbling and bouncing a little bit, and then trail off. And then you can add with the tip of the brush. Should be work nice and finely now, because you've used up some of the paint. And I'm just adding a little bit more on there. We'll add some greenery to this and some snow later on. So pop the branches wherever you like. While I've got that brown on my brush, I might as well go ahead and do the little legs and the feet. So I'm going to make him a little bit bandy, I think. I think the key is for it to look a bit funny, not too serious. Right, so there's my two legs. Gonna leave that to dry, and then I'll give him some claws to hold on with. Somebody's just coming in. Hold on a second. Oh, Diane Denning's here. Well, she's not Diane Denning anymore, she's Diane Masters.
Morning.
Morning, how are you?
I'm okay, thank you. I've been in demand this morning.
Oh, have you?
Yes, I'm a bit delayed.
Why were you in demand?
Everybody wanting to talk to me.
Oh, how lovely.
Yeah.
That's good.
So you're
You're not taking along, I take it,
I'm gonna
Diane.
have to mute myself.
Okay. Anyway, you can hear me. So it's being recorded. So you can watch it and do it whenever you want. Diane's actually coming up to see me on Tuesday, so that will be nice. Okay, I met Diane. She lives in Somerset. I met her at a show like the Farnborough show, but one in at West Point in Exeter many years ago, actually. Okay, so now I've got a branch. I've got a bit of a dodgy looking bit here, but I'm not going to worry about that. I could either stipple it. I'm going to show you this actually. With the Deerfoot brush. It's a really great brush to have, and if you haven't got one, I highly recommend that you do. And it's good for little mossy bits. And also you can see I'm just sort of tapping some of the colours, and it will help you blend colours together. And I have got a little bit of a hole in the middle there. So you can see how that's now taken care of that. Okay, and then it holds quite a lot of paint, so I'm going to wash it straight away because I don't want to ruin it. They do get quite severely abused because you do pounce up and down hard. Right, so I'm just going to put that quick dry, and then I'll do the little red breast. Okay, so now that's dry enough for me to do the red breast, so I'm going to tap the little sponge onto the red first. I want red to be dominant. This is quite an orangey red actually, which is quite nice. And if you haven't discovered neons yet, they're great. Has anybody tried the neons at all?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I only use them kind of for highlighting. They're not that opaque. Right, so with the yellow part kind of towards more to the top of the bird, I'm going to touch down in the middle hard and twist and see what I get. So I've got some, but not enough. So I'm going to repeat that step. It's better to dry it first and then repeat that step. Otherwise, if you just go straight without drying it, will lift up the paint. So I'm just going to give that a quick dry with the hairdryer. We had this Australian lady over to teach once many years ago. Some of you may know her, others not, but her name is Vicky Nicholson.
Oh yeah.
And she came and she stayed with me actually. And she said to me, she was teaching a class, and before we went to the class, she said, "Sharon, have you got a studio dryer?" And I said, "Oh, I don't think I have. No, I'm sorry. What's that then?" She said, it's just a hairdryer that you use in the studio. I thought it was some special piece of equipment. Right, so I'm doing that center again. So touching down and twisting it a little. You could do this whole thing with the Deerfoot brush that I mentioned earlier. And I'm letting it merge a little bit, but I'm quite happy with that, I think. If you want to add a little bit more red lower down, you can just tap it like that. We didn't do this at the show, by the way, but I am still going to keep it very simple. It's not supposed to be
Is there
anything.
yellow in that as well, did you say?
Yeah, a little bit of yellow. Ooh, I've made a really big red breast now. Okay, well, I quite like that. I think he's been on the sauce, this one. Robins are very, very popular with people, aren't they? Okay, so I can leave that to dry, and while that's drying, I'm going to pop a couple of tiny little bits of green, just shaking up the bottle, and putting a little bit of mid green and light green. If I feel I want to lighten this light green up anymore, I tend not to use white because that looks a bit chalky when you use it. I tend to use a little bit of yellow. I kind of, with white, I use it as a last resort, not a first resort when I'm painting stems or leaves or anything. I tend to keep white to the barest minimum. That's maybe just me. Okay, so I'm going back to my liner brush, my fine liner brush. And I've only got a couple of little bits of, moving this up so you can see, a couple of, they're smaller because don't forget I've zoomed in a little bit. I've put a couple of little bits of green out of my palette, and I'm picking up water on my liner brush, and I'm going to the edge of my puddle of paint and pulling out some green. And with that green, I am going to make sure I've got a nice sharp tip. So touching down on the damp tissue again to kind of sharpen my point. And then I think it's easier to start with like a center spine and then do little pine needles coming out from that. Cross them over a little bit, don't make them too neat. They shouldn't look like a fishbone. I kind of want to darken that green a little bit more, so I'm just taking a pinprick of black to it. You only need a tiny little pinprick because it is so, black is so overpowering. Right, that's better. I think we can see that a little bit better as well. So I will come back and highlight that a bit. I'm going to do another, I just realised I haven't done his toes, or claws. Another branch up here. Not too neat. If you're too neat, go back over it like I am. Well, maybe I have another one here, just with what I've got left in my brush, and I know that I've used up an awful lot of paint on my brush, so it would be working at its very, very finest now. If you touch down heavy with the liner brush, you'll get a flat stroke. You want to keep it nice and fine, no pressure, just work on the very tip. Just trying to keep this in the center. Do tell me if you can't see what I'm doing, because sometimes what I'm working on wander a little bit, wander in the wrong direction where you can't see. So I'm picking up a little bit of the pale green, tiny bit of yellow, and I'm going to go back to the first one that I started, which isn't quite dry. So actually, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to put some of his claws on. So what colour should we use for claws? I think light brown. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to my light brown. maybe a pinprick of white. Not much water because I don't want this working super fine. So that was brown with a little bit of yellow and a little bit of white. So I'm going to hold on when I'm doing close work. I'm going to say that again. I think I froze then. When I'm doing close work, I tend to hold my brush very near to the bristles, and that helps me to have more control. So I'm going to do 3 little claws kind of gripping on. And while I'm there, I'll put a little bit of this colour and just highlight the legs a tiny bit. Don't know why I keep freezing. Right, moving again, okay. So we're 3/4 of the way there now already. So that shows you how quick it is. And if you did a production line of these, you wanted to get a few done at the same time, you could do them all in a row and just work on one bit while another bit's drying. Okay, so I'm going to go back now to my branches, my pine needles, and make a pale green. So I've used a little bit of yellow on my green. That actually makes a lovely green. And just a few on top, not many, not so many as you did the first time. You want to see some of your darker ones showing as well. Okay, so there we are. And we will add snow to these later on. And I'm rinsing the brush and done. So that shouldn't take you more than about a minute. Or 2. How's everybody doing? Do you want to give me a thumbs up if you're okay? I think Diane's okay, but I don't think she's doing it.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm listening.
Oh, you're not doing it, Claire?
No,
Oh, I thought you'd have about a dozen of these done by now.
no, I'm just catching up on some work, but it's nice to listen.
Okay. Jean, how are you doing?
Yeah, okay, yeah,
You're okay? You with me?
yeah.
Okay. And Pauline?
Yeah, all good, thank you.
Good. Lynn, you can give me a thumbs up if you're okay. And Sarah, is Sarah okay? I see she's. Oh, that's a very posh thumbs up. I don't know how you did that, but yeah, yellow one. Heidi, you okay?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Right. I'll move on then. So where was I? Right. We've got the beak to do and the eyes. So I'm going to take a little bit of that browny yellow, the same sort of colour that I used on the claws. Mix up a little bit more if you need to, maybe a little bit paler, but it should be kind of like a pale mustardy colour, roughly. And I'm going to paint a upside down V at the top and then a natural V at the bottom. And then I'm just going to colour it in. Just zoom in a little bit more. Right, so now I've got an open beak. Yellow tends to be very translucent, so you may need to add another coat to get good coverage. Now I'm going to, while that beak is drying a little bit, in fact I might make it a little bit of a wider beak, but while it's drying I'm going to paint the eyes in. Make it wider, I think it'll look cuter. There, so it's like a diamond shape really. So while that's drying, the next thing to do is the black eyes. Now you can use a stylus if you want to. I personally choose not to. I like to use a tip of a small liner brush as well. So I can make them quite small, and if I want to make them bigger, I can just kind of stir them on a little bit bigger. One tip I'll give you, when you're painting eyes or anything like that, if you turn it upside down, you can see the differences more easily. Like taking a photograph or something. If you take a photograph of something, you can see if something needs adjusting better. It's something to do with the different sides of how your brain work. I don't know if you got any of that, or did I freeze during when I was speaking just now?
A
No?
little bit. It did for me a little bit, but I got what you meant.
Okay. Anybody else need me to repeat that? No? Oh, Kim, you do you? No? Good. Okay, so I'm still using my little tiny brush. This is a very fine detail brush. And one little tip I'll give you as well is that sometimes in the nail section of the pound shop, you can get very fine little brushes. And I've got an eyeliner brush actually that I use. It's one of those liquidy ones. And when it's used up, it makes a great little liner brush. So all I'm going to do, I want to give it the look as though it's got a little bit of an open beak and that it's got a throat. So I'm going to put, ooh, a little bit dark. Going to put a little bit of the darker brown just in there. Wash the brush and just spread that out a little bit. We're also going to put a highlight on the edge of the beak as well. So that just kind of gives it a little bit more depth. So I'm going back to a bit of yellow and a bit of white. Just to highlight one side. Actually going to change my mind and do two sides. Yeah. Wow.
Is that just with white?
Sorry?
Was that white you used to do the highlight?
No, I used yellow and white. So
Okay, thank you.
I mixed it. My palette's out of shop.
What colour did you use for the throat?
For the what? The throat?
Yeah.
Use a mid-brown, a little bit, just to do a kind of like an impression that the throat goes back. When you're done, if you can give me the thumbs up. Oh, very good thumbs up, Lynn. Sarah, okay as well? Good, okay. Right. Lynn Pugsley raised hand. Good. Well, you're going to have to give us lessons, I think, Lynn. You seem to be a bit of an expert here.
I use it a lot.
Do you?
Yeah. Sarah's good at it as well, to be fair.
Excellent. Oh, look at Kim's got bubbles going up. How on earth did you do that?
You go to reactions.
Oh, gosh. Don't need to
Yeah, there's a thing at the bottom of the page that says react, and you've got a choice of emojis you can send.
Oh, where's, oh, there. Well, I've never used that before. Oh, that's good.
You should be concentrating on teaching, Sharon.
Oh, okay. Look, you made me cry now. How do I stop reacting? Oh,
That's a
God.
laughy
God.
face.
Right, okay. So I've got, I'm ready to now put a highlight in the eyes, which makes a big difference to the bird. But it has to be a very tiny, weeny highlight. So get the very tip of the brush. As I say, I prefer to use a brush rather than a stylus. And put the tiniest little white dot in the eye. and make it equal, or you can, if you want to make it look equal, you can, or you can make it look boss side. If you put both highlights in towards the middle next to the beak, it would look boss side. If you want it to look a bit funny, you can do that. And now I'm going to put some snow on. So this is where you need to have your glitter handy. And I'm sure, like me, you're so organised, you've got that already. No, I'm just putting it out now. I love snowflakes, so a little bit of my thing really that I love. But first, before we do those, we're going to do some snow along the branch. I'm taking my longer liner out. Is anybody not ready, or is everybody okay?
I'm ready.
You're ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to show you my palette again because I want you to see that I'm getting a big blob of paint on it, and I'm not going to sharpen up my tip on damp kitchen roll. So I've got a big, thick blob of paint there. Okay, I'm just going to sort of dab it on here and there roughly. Maybe a little bit on his head. Wash the brush, and while that's still wet, and it will stay wet if you've got a good bit of paint on it like I have. It helps if you get your lid of your glitter pot open before you start this. Another hot tip. Right, you probably remember doing this at the show. I was covered in glitter for days after that show, by the way. Don't think you can see it sparkling, but it is sparkling. He's even got a little bit in his throat, actually. Never mind. One thing I wanted to say to you before I forget, just going back to the eyes for a moment. If you make that white bit too big and they look absolutely scary, and they will look scary if you make them too big, don't worry about it. Just go back to a little bit of black and just make the white a little bit smaller. And that instantly looks better. Okay, so now we're ready for stamping. Oh no, we've got berries to do first. So I'm going to, this time I am going to use the end of my brush. I don't want to use a stylus because they're usually too small. So I'm going to take the end of my brush, which is a nice rounded end. So pick a brush that has a rounded end. And this is more orange than red, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going to blob some berries. Here and there. I want an odd number. I'm also going to glitter these. I'm just sprinkling a little bit of glitter onto the wet paint. And I learned how to do this at one of the shows. It was actually Farnborough, a lovely lady called Suze Humphrey. And she came along and did a little make and take on Frozen. Come on. Right, okay. I think I'm still frozen.
Oh, you're back.
Yeah, good. Sorry about that. I don't know why it happens. It very rarely happens now. I was teaching my normal Saturday morning class yesterday, and I had no problems at all. Right, so anyway, now we've got the snowballs to do and stamping. So I'm going to grab a piece of wet and dry bone. Zoom out a little bit, I think. So, okay, so you can see what I'm doing. So I've taken my flat brush this time. So that's like a square. And I'm taking white. I did blot it off a little bit to get rid of the water because I don't want it to be too weak. So I'm putting it into white and loading both sides of that flat brush. And I'm just using a little bit of paint, a thin layer of paint. Take my stamp. Now I've got a proper acrylic thing here. When we were at the show, we used milk bottle lids, but they worked. So tap it lightly. Don't push the paint into the stamp because you distort the image. And then once you can see that you've got paint over the image that you want, you can press down quite hard, push and lift. It's not showing up terribly well, but it is there. Let's have a little bit more paint on. So the secret is just tap very, very lightly. And if you haven't done this before, I suggest using a little bit of card or something else just to practice it on first. I'm up there. Now there is another project coming up. I'm not sure when. Kim, have you got the mistletoe project yet?
I think so.
Oh, okay. That you could also combine this with the mistletoe design. It would look quite cute to have a couple of bits of mistletoe. I've got some red there. I was trying to disguise that, but it hasn't worked. But you could add bits of mistletoe coming down as well. I'll show you my card that I did at the show in a second, and then you can see what I mean. Right, just put those into soak. So you might remember seeing some of these on display at the show. And you could add maybe a little bit smaller, could add a few to the robin, it's just another way of using it. I'm also going to put that into water, and I'm going to use the end of my brush again with white to do some snowballs. I'm just going into the lid of my paint, and I'm going to dot them about here and there. And I'm using quite a bit of deep paint because I want them to, I want the glitter to stick to them. Sometimes I put a little spot in the middle of my stamps as well. I love glitter. Right, so before that dries, I'm going to sprinkle some glitter over. Right, so it adds a tiny little bit of dimension as well. And you can add as much or as little as you like. You could use a Happy Christmas stamp here. I think I have got something like that somewhere. If you want to add to that as well. Okay, so I'm going to take myself off the spotlight and there we are. So that's it really. I'd like to see your results. Oh, how did you get on with the pot? Let me just spotlight you, Heidi. Sorry, you'll have to wait a second. Oh, that is really
That looks lovely.
It does.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I love
stunning.
it on the pot. That's really good. You've got a nice plump one. Yeah.
Well, I didn't have a lot of choice, so that's the only size I had.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so you're pleased with it.
Thank you. Thanks, Sharon. Yeah, I am actually.
It's the quick and easy one, isn't it?
Yeah,
What will you use the
It
pot
is.
for? What will you put in there?
I purchased myself some new brushes that I'm going to try out.
Ah, lovely.
They were 50p each, and I was like, well, we'll give them a go. They've got
Yeah.
decent points on them.
Excellent. Disposable price, really. Right.
Well, the thing is, I pay a lot of money for brushes, and I end up they're no good after two or three uses.
Really?
Just use their points, lose
Yeah.
their points.
Yeah, it happens. Do you use brush cleaner?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really quite good, as Claire will tell you, about cleaning my brushes.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Jean, you look as though you've finished. Are you ready to show?
Yeah, I've not done any. My stamps are out in the shed and the glitter's out in the shed.
Oh, that's cute. Is that the one you did today?
Yeah.
That's lovely. Yeah.
Oh, he's cute.
If it was me, I'd have a few more feathers on his wings, but apart from that, I think it's really cute.
Okay.
Doesn't it look nice in that colour background? What colour of background have you used?
It's just a piece of card with gessos just thinly spread over it. It's not. I just did it quickly this morning when I just got some paints in. That's the trouble when I keep my paints in the shed. I have to run backwards and forwards all the time.
Right, let me come to Lynn then. And have you finished? We're not rushing anybody, I hope. You might want to unmute yourself.
Yeah, we've unmuted.
Okay. How did you get
Okay,
on?
so there's
Oh, oh,
Lovely.
fun one.
and there's Sarah's.
Oh, that's very
Oh.
cute. Well done, Sarah. Lovely. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah.
You did. You had fun. We haven't got stamps, and we didn't have black paper, so we've done our best.
Yeah, but you did well. You did well.
Yeah, we did. So.
Okay, Kim, you haven't got anything. Claire hasn't. Or Pauline next, I think.
I can share what I've done so far. I'm still working, still going
Oh,
through
you're
'cause
still working. Okay, that's
it's
fine.
okay. I don't mind sharing though. I've got a black one and
Oh, you've done two. Well done.
Lovely.
so just
Yeah, you
working
might want to
through.
lighten your brown up on your wing feathers on the dark one. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to. Yeah, I think I've got a little bit of copper metallic. I think I'm going to add to this one
Yeah.
to
that'd be
bring it
lovely.
up. Um,
Well
I
done.
did a better beak. I really struggled with the beak at when we were at the show, but I've really I haven't done it again today. I feel a lot more happier with how it's
Yes.
turned out.
Sometimes just having something repeated, you kind of take it in a little bit better, don't you?
Yeah, so I'm really pleased with that. So thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Good. Right. Okay. So I'm going to stop recording actually.